My name is Riley Harper. I'm 34. On Tuesday morning, April 8th, at 6:51 a.m., I was standing on the front porch of the house I'd spent 3 years rebuilding with my own hands. The house I'd bought for $47,000 and transformed into a $310,000 Heritage Home Tour feature. Watching a man I'd never met nail a foreclosure notice to the doorframe I'd restored from 16 pieces of termite-damaged oak. My father stood behind him with his arms crossed, and when I asked what was happening, he said 5 words that made my knees go soft. "You don't own this anymore." The man with the hammer turned. He was maybe 50, wearing a cheap gray suit that didn't fit right at the shoulders. "Ms. Harper? I'm Kenneth Driscoll from Riverside Property Management. This property was sold 4 days ago. You have 72 hours to vacate." "Sold?" My voice came out strange. "That's impossible. I never—" "The sale was legal," my father interrupted. His voice had that flat, final quality I'd heard my whole life. "I used the power of attorney you gave me when you were working on that house in Millbrook last year, the one where you couldn't get to the bank for 3 weeks. I stared at him. "I revoked that power of attorney 8 months ago, in writing. You signed the acknowledgement." "Did I?" He tilted his head like he was trying to remember something trivial. "I don't recall that, Riley. And apparently neither does the county clerk's office. The sale went through. Nolan needed the money. It was either the house or watch your brother lose everything." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I need to know I'm not alone in this. The thing is, I did revoke it. I have the certified letter. I have his signature on the acknowledgement form. But standing there in the cold morning air, watching Kenneth Driscoll check his watch like I was wasting his time, I realized my father had bet I wouldn't be able to prove it fast enough to stop him. "Where's Nolan now?" I asked. "Recovering," my father said. "Your mother's with him. This has been very hard on her, Riley. Watching you fight us like this, making everything about you." My hands were shaking. I'd rebuilt this porch board by board. I'd sourced 100-year-old heart pine from a demolished church in South Carolina because I wanted the grain to match the original. I'd spent 11 hours on a single Saturday stripping 18 layers of paint from the balustrade spindles because someone in 1924 had hand-carved them, and I couldn't stand to see that work covered up. There were scars on my palms from the planer blade slipping. There was a burn mark on my left forearm from the heat gun. This house was my blood. "I'll fight this," I said quietly. Kenneth Driscoll handed me a business card. "You've got 72 hours, Ms. Harper. After that, the sheriff removes you." "I'm sorry." He wasn't sorry. Neither was my father. And when I called my mother 3 minutes later, standing alone on that porch with my coffee going cold in my hand, she cried and said, "Why can't you just help your brother for once? Why does it always have to be a fight with you?" Let me take you back 4 years to when I first met Ed Mulvaney. It was late September, the kind of afternoon where the light turns amber and everything feels like a photograph. I'd just bought the house everyone in town called the Ghost House. 3 stories of Victorian wreckage that hadn't been lived in since 1987. The porch roof had collapsed on the left side. The windows were boarded up. There were actual saplings growing through the floorboards in the back parlor. Ed lived next door in a narrow blue Craftsman with white trim and flower boxes he maintained with the precision of a military officer. I was standing in my driveway, staring up at the mess I'd just purchased, when he walked over carrying a thermos and 2 tin cups. "You're either very brave or very foolish," he said. He had the kind of voice that made you want to sit down and listen, gravelly, but warm. "I'm Ed Mulvaney. I've lived here 43 years. I watched that house die. I'd like to watch you bring it back." We sat on his porch steps and drank coffee that was too strong and too hot, and he told me about the family who'd built the house in 1891, the Crenshaw family. They'd owned a brick factory, The father had designed the stained glass transom over the front door himself, 43 pieces showing a sunrise over water. It's been broken since 1994, Ed said. Neighborhood kids, baseball through the window. I'll fix it, I told him. He smiled. I believe you will. And Riley? When you do, I want you to promise me something. Don't ever let anyone tell you what you built doesn't matter. Not family, not strangers, no one. I promised. Over the next 3 years, Ed watched me rebuild that house from the foundation up. He brought me coffee when I was working before dawn. He held the level when I was installing the porch beams by myself. He took photographs, hundreds of them, of the restoration process. The collapsed roof, the rotted subfloor, the before and after of the transom after I'd spent 2 months learning how to work with lead, came and recreate the missing pieces. For your portfolio, he said, handing me envelopes of printed photos every few weeks. You're going to be famous for this, kid. I laughed. I'm 31 years old, Ed. I'm not a kid. You're my neighbor, he said. That makes you family. And family looks out for family. 6 months before my father sold my house, Ed Mulvaney died in his sleep. He was 81. The funeral was on a Thursday afternoon. I spoke at the service because his daughter asked me to. I talked about the coffee and the photographs, and the way he'd helped me carry the 100-year-old heart pine boards up onto the porch the day they arrived from South Carolina. My family didn't come to the funeral. Nolan texted me at 2:47 p.m. Busy, sorry, give our regards. I should have known then. The first betrayal came 3 weeks after Ed died. I was at a client meeting in Riverside. A couple wanted me to restore the original plaster molding in their 1920s bungalow when my phone rang 4 times in a row. I ignored it until the wife said, "You should probably get that." It was my mother. "Riley, your father and I need to talk to you about the house." "Which house?" "Your house, the Victorian. Nolan's in trouble. He made some investments that didn't work out. He owes $195,000 to some very bad people, Riley. Your father thinks we should sell your house to cover it." My face went cold. "That's not your house to sell. We're your family." Her voice cracked. "We wouldn't ask if it wasn't life or death. These people are threatening him. They showed up at his apartment. Your brother is in danger. Then he should go to the police." "The police can't help. Riley, please. Your father has power of attorney. He can sign the papers. We've already found a buyer. It won't take long. You can find another project." I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly, I knocked over the water glass on the conference table. The husband grabbed napkins and started mopping it up, and I apologized 3 times while I packed up my portfolio. I drove straight to my lawyer's office. Patricia Chen had handled the house purchase for me. She pulled up the records and confirmed what I already knew. "You revoked the power of attorney on August 14th of last year," she said, showing me the notarized document with my father's signature. "This copy was filed with the county. He can't use it to sell anything." "What if he already did?" She went very still. "Has he?" "He says he's going to." "Then we stop him. I'll file an emergency injunction today. He won't be able to complete any sale without court approval." I felt something loosen in my chest. "Thank you." That night, my father called. "I hear you got lawyers involved. That's a mistake, Riley. This is family business. You're making your mother sick with worry. Nolan's safety is on your hands now. Remember that." 3 days later, the Heritage Home Tour people called. I'd been selected as one of 12 properties to feature in the spring tour, a huge honor that would bring clients, press, and legitimacy to my restoration work. I was supposed to meet with the photographer on Monday to do the official shoot for the brochure. On Sunday night, my mother called every single member of the tour committee and told them I'd been arrested for elder abuse, that I'd stolen money from my grandmother before she died, that I was under investigation and they should remove my house from the tour immediately to avoid the scandal. None of it was true. My grandmother had died 8 years ago. I'd been 26. I hadn't even lived in the same state, but 3 committee members believed her. The tour director called me Monday morning at 7:18 a.m. Riley, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to remove your property from the tour. We've received some concerning information about your background. Until this is resolved, what information? I'm not at liberty to say, but multiple people called. We can't take the risk. I spent the next week calling lawyers, filing cease and desist letters, and watching my phone fill up with messages from clients asking if the rumors were true. Had I really stolen from my family? Was I really under investigation? My mother's response when I finally got her on the phone. I was just trying to protect Nolan. You were being selfish. Someone had to make you see reason. You lied. You destroyed my reputation. For money. For your brother. She was crying. Don't you care about your brother? I did care. That was the problem. I'd cared for 34 years. I'd cared through every forgotten birthday, every time Nolan borrowed money and never paid it back, every family dinner where my achievements were footnotes and his failures were tragedies that required emergency intervention. I'd cared so much I'd lost sight of what it was doing to me. By mid-March, I was taking any work I could get. The Heritage Tour cancellation had scared off half my clients. The rumors my mother spread had scared off the rest. I ended up doing small jobs, replacing rotted windowsills, fixing sagging gutters, painting rental properties for a management company that didn't ask questions. It was humbling work. Not shameful, but humbling. I'd spent 3 years becoming known for my restoration craftsmanship. Now I was the woman you called when you needed someone cheap and fast. One of my new clients was a man named Marcus Reed who owned 16 rental properties around town. He was fair, paid on time, and didn't waste words. On my third job for him, replacing the back deck on a duplex near the college, he brought me coffee at 8 a.m. and sat on the porch railing while I worked. You do good work, he said. Quiet, thorough, I like that. Thank you. I heard what happened with the Heritage Tour. Somebody spreading rumors about you. I kept my eyes on the deck boards. It's handled. Family? I didn't answer. He nodded like I had. I've got a sister who drained my mother's bank account 3 years ago, he said. Told everyone I was the one who did it. Took me a year to clear my name. Some people still believe her version. I looked up. How do you deal with it? I don't. I built a life she can't touch. That's all you can do. Build something they can't take away. Except they were trying to take away the one thing I'd built. The house. My house. And I didn't know how to stop them without proof that my father was lying about the power of attorney. Patricia Chen had filed the injunction, but my father's lawyer was arguing that the revocation had never been properly delivered, that he'd never received it, that it was my word against his. The public humiliation came on a Friday afternoon in late March. I was at the hardware store on Belmont Avenue, loading drywall sheets into the truck, when I heard my mother's voice behind me. Riley. I turned. She was standing near the paint desk with two women I didn't recognize, friends from her book club maybe, or church. She looked smaller than I remembered, thinner, her eyes were red. Mom! I've been trying to reach you. Her voice wavered. You blocked my number. You blocked your father. You won't return Nolan's calls. Do you have any idea how much you're hurting us? The two women with her looked uncomfortable. One of them touched my mother's elbow gently, like she wanted to pull her away. My mother shook her off. Nolan is in the hospital, she continued. Her voice was getting louder. People were looking. He tried to hurt himself, Riley. Because of you. Because you won't help him. Because you're so selfish you'd rather watch your own brother suffer than sell one house. My throat went dry. What? He took pills. Last night. Your father found him. They pumped his stomach. She stepped closer. Her face was blotchy. Tears tracked down her cheeks. I hope you're happy. I hope that house is worth your brother's life. Because that's what it cost. Something hardened in me then, something cold and sharp and final. "I'm sorry Nolan's in the hospital," I said quietly. "But I didn't put him there. And I'm not selling my house." My mother's face crumpled. "You heartless." "I'm done." I kept my voice steady. "I'm done apologizing for not sacrificing myself. I'm done being blamed for Nolan's choices. I'm done pretending this is about love when it's about control." One of the women with my mother whispered, "Maybe we should go." My mother ignored her. "Your father was right about you. You were always cold, even as a child. You never cared about anyone but yourself." I picked up the drywall sheets and carried them to the truck. My hands weren't shaking. My voice hadn't cracked. I'd said what I needed to say, and now I was leaving. Behind me, I heard one of the women say softly, "Evelyn, that was... maybe you should call her later, when you're calmer." I drove to the duplex and worked until dark. I didn't check my phone. I didn't cry. I plastered the entire back bedroom, sanded it smooth, and primed it. The repetition steadied me. The physical work gave me somewhere to put the anger. That night, lying in bed in the apartment I'd rented after my father sold the house out from under me, I remembered something Ed Mulvaney had said. "People don't usually turn on you all at once. They do it slowly. One compromise, one excuse, one time they look the other way. And then one day, you look up and realize they've been lying to you for years." I got out of bed and went to the storage unit where I'd moved everything from the house. It took me an hour to find the box labeled Paperwork, House. Inside were all the permits, inspection reports, and purchase documents from the renovation. I'd kept everything because Ed had taught me to. And tucked into a folder labeled Utility Setup, I found something I'd forgotten about. A voicemail transcript from February of last year. I'd switched phone carriers, and they'd sent me printed transcripts of all my saved voicemails. One of them was from my father. The date was February 22nd, 6 months before I'd revoked the power of attorney. The transcript read, "Riley, it's your dad. I need to talk to you about the house. Nolan's got himself in a situation, and I'm going to need access to some assets to help him out. Call me when you get this. Don't mention this to your mother. She worries." I read it 3 times. He'd been planning this for over a year, maybe longer. I took a photo of the transcript and sent it to Patricia Chen with a message. "Found this. Does it help?" She called me at 9:43 p.m. "Where did you get this?" "Old voicemail transcript. I'd forgotten I had it." "This is good. This establishes intent and premeditation. He was already thinking about accessing your assets before you gave him power of attorney. We can argue he obtained it under false pretenses. I'll file an amended motion on Monday." "Will it be enough to stop the sale?" "I don't know. But it's more than we had." That weekend, I visited Nolan in the hospital. He was in the psychiatric ward on the 4th floor. They let me in because I was listed as next of kin. He looked terrible. Pale and hollow-eyed, thinner than I'd ever seen him. He was sitting in a chair by the window when I walked in. He didn't stand. "Mom said you wouldn't come," he said. "Mom said a lot of things." He looked at his hands. "I'm sorry about the house." "Did you ask Dad to sell it?" "No, but I didn't stop him either." His voice was flat. "I needed the money. He said he had a way to get it. I didn't ask questions." "Why not?" "Because I didn't want to know." He finally looked at me. "I'm not stupid, Riley. I knew it was going to hurt you. I just didn't care enough to stop it." The honesty shocked me more than anything else. No excuses, no justifications, just the truth. "The people you owe money to," I said. "Are they real?" "Yeah, they're real. But Dad's been paying them off in installments since January. The crisis was over months ago. He just didn't tell you." So the hospital visit was real. I did take pills. But not because of the debt. Because I'm tired, Riley. I'm tired of being the failure. I'm tired of being the one everyone has to save. I'm tired of watching Dad destroy you to fix me. I sat down in the chair across from him. What do you want? I want you to fight. I want you to take him to court. I want you to get your house back. He leaned forward. And I want you to know I won't testify for him. If it comes to that, I'll tell the truth. Why? Because you're my sister, and what he did was wrong. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was something. On Monday morning, I got a call from a woman who introduced herself as Rebecca Mulvaney, Ed's daughter. She lived in Oregon. We'd spoken briefly at the funeral, but I hadn't heard from her since. I'm sorry it took me so long to reach out, she said. I've been going through my father's things. He left something for you. A sealed envelope with your name on it. And a key. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop on Riverside Street. Rebecca was in her mid-50s, tall and serious, with her father's steady eyes. She handed me a large manila envelope with my name written on it in Ed's cramped handwriting. He gave this to me 6 months before he died, she said. He told me to wait. That I'd know when the time was right. When I heard about what happened with your house, I knew. My hands were shaking as I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, a small brass key, and a stack of photographs. There's a safe deposit box, Rebecca said. The key is for that. Box 447 at Riverside Community Bank. It's paid up for the next 10 years. He wanted you to have whatever's inside. Did he tell you what it was? No. He said you'd need it when your family tried to take something from you. He said he'd been watching them watch you for 3 years. He said he had proof. I couldn't breathe. Proof of what? I don't know, but my father was meticulous. If he said he had proof, he had proof. I read the letter that night, sitting on the floor of my apartment with all the lights on. Dear Riley, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and your father is already doing what I knew he would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried talking to him twice. Once in September of last year, when I saw him standing in your driveway looking at the house like he was appraising it. Once in January, when I overheard him on his phone in his car talking about property values and quick sales. He doesn't hear reason, he only hears documents. Do you remember the morning we fixed the transom? You were so careful with every piece. You told me it mattered that someone cared enough to do it right. I told you I'd always remember that. I meant it. The original power of attorney revocation is in the safe deposit box at Riverside Community Bank. So is the certified mail receipt showing your father signed for it on August 19th. I was standing at my window when the postal carrier delivered it. I took photos of your father taking it out of the mailbox and reading it on his porch. I have 23 photos documenting that day, time-stamped and geotagged. I also have recordings of 3 phone calls he made from his car. He parks in front of my house sometimes because the shade is better. He talks loud enough that I could hear him through my open window. I recorded him talking about selling your house without your knowledge. I recorded him coaching your mother on what to say to the Heritage Tour Committee. I recorded him telling your brother not to warn you. I put everything in the safe deposit box, along with a notarized statement from me explaining what I witnessed and when. My daughter has instructions to make sure you get this when you need it. Inside this envelope, you'll also find digital drive with all photos and recordings, copies of my witness statement, the mail receipt with your father's signature, photos of him intercepting your mail in March, documentation of the quick sale he arranged. You don't need to fight him alone. Take this to your lawyer. Let the evidence speak. You are not selfish. You are not cold. You are not the villain in your family's story just because you refuse to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You are the woman who spent 3 years rebuilding a house everyone else called hopeless because you saw beauty in the bones. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. All my love. Your neighbor who believed in you, Ed Mulvaney. I read it 3 times. Then I opened the package of photographs he'd included. There were 43 of them. My father taking the certified letter from the mailbox. My father reading it on his porch. My father wadding it up. My father smoothing it out and reading it again. My father on his phone, my father in his car, my father walking to my mailbox and taking out letters. Every photo was time-stamped. Every photo was dated. Every photo was clear. Ed had been watching. He'd been documenting. He'd been protecting me, even after he knew he wouldn't be alive to see me fight back. I sat on that floor and cried for 20 minutes. Then I called Patricia Chen. The safe deposit box contained everything Ed had promised. The recordings were clear, my father's voice discussing the sale, coaching my mother on the lies, telling Nolan to keep quiet. The mail receipt was stamped and signed. The witness statement was notarized. Patricia filed an emergency motion to void the sale on the grounds of fraud. She attached all of Ed's evidence. She requested a hearing. The hearing was set for April 8th at 2 p.m. My father's lawyer tried to get it delayed, tried to challenge the evidence, tried to argue that Ed's recordings were inadmissible because my father hadn't consented to being recorded. But Oregon is a one-party consent state. Ed was allowed to record conversations he was part of or that occurred in places where he had a reasonable expectation to hear them. And my father had been loud enough in his car that Ed could hear him through an open window. The judge ruled the recordings were admissible. The hearing was set to proceed. On April 8th at 1:47 p.m., I pulled up to the house, my house, for the first time since my father had sold it 6 weeks earlier. The new buyer, a man named Richard Colson, was standing on the porch with his lawyer. My father was there. My mother, Nolan. Patricia Chen. 3 local reporters. Kenneth Driscoll from Riverside Property Management. And maybe 30 other people from the neighborhood, including 4 members of the Heritage Home Tour Committee. Someone had leaked the story. Someone had told the press that the house featured in the local news for its restoration had been sold fraudulently by the owner's father. Someone had made sure everyone would be there to watch what happened next. I parked in the driveway and got out. My father saw me and his face went hard. "This is a waste of time," he called. "The sale is final. You're embarrassing yourself." I walked up the path to the porch I'd rebuilt. The buyer, Richard Colson, looked uncomfortable. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, wearing expensive jeans and a tailored jacket. His lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in a black suit, watched me approach with professional interest. Patricia Chen stepped forward. "Mr. Colson, I've filed a motion to void the sale of this property on the grounds of fraud. My client's father used a revoked power of attorney to execute the sale without her knowledge or consent. We have substantial evidence documenting his actions." Richard Colson looked at my father. "You said this was a clean sale. You said there were no complications." "There aren't," my father said. "My daughter is confused. She's been under a lot of stress. This is a family matter." "Then why is the press here?" Colson asked. One of the reporters stepped forward. "Mr. Harper, is it true that you forged documents to sell your daughter's house in order to cover your son's gambling debts?" My father's face flushed. "That's a lie. I used a valid power of attorney. Riley gave it to me voluntarily." "Did she revoke it?" the reporter pressed. "She claims to have revoked it. I never received any revocation." Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Actually, Mr. Harper, you did. On August 19th of last year, you signed for a certified letter containing a notarized revocation of the power of attorney. We have the postal receipt with your signature. We also have 43 photographs documenting you retrieving the letter from the mailbox, reading it, and keeping it." She handed the folder to the reporter and to Colson's lawyer. The photographs were inside, printed in full color, each one time-stamped and dated. My father's face went white. "Those photos are... Where did you get those?" "From a witness who observed your actions and documented them because he believed you were planning to defraud your daughter. His name was Ed Mulvaney. He lived next door. He watched you for 8 months." My mother made a small sound. "Ed, the old man, he was spying on us?" "He was protecting Riley," Patricia said calmly. He also recorded 3 phone conversations in which Mr. Harper discussed plans to sell the house without Riley's knowledge, coaching Mrs. Harper to spread false rumors about Riley to sabotage her business, and instructing their son not to warn Riley about the sale. She pulled out a small digital recorder and pressed play. My father's voice filled the porch. I'm telling you, Evelyn, we sell the house fast and quiet. Riley won't know until it's done. By the time she figures it out, the money will be in Nolan's account and the debt will be paid. She'll get over it. My mother's voice. What if she fights us? My father. She won't. She never does. She just apologizes and moves on. That's who she is. The silence on the porch was absolute. 30 people standing frozen, listening to my father casually plan to steal from me. Patricia stopped the recording. We have 2 more conversations like this. We also have documentation that Mr. Harper arranged for a mail forwarding service to intercept notices sent to Riley about the sale. We have proof that the sale price was significantly below market value, $195,000 for a property appraised at $310,000, indicating a rush transaction designed to benefit the seller, not the buyer. Richard Colson turned to my father. You told me the owner was eager to sell. You told me you had full authority. I did, my father said, but his voice had lost its confidence. No, you didn't. I spoke for the first time. My voice was steady. You had a power of attorney I gave you for a specific purpose while I was working out of town for 3 weeks. When I came back, I revoked it. I notified you in writing, you signed for the letter, and then you pretended it never happened so you could sell my house to bail out Nolan. My father's eyes locked on mine. That blood is on your hands. Your brother almost died because of you. No. I pulled out the photo of Ed's revocation receipt and held it up. This is on your hands. You stole from me. You lied to me. You tried to destroy my reputation to cover it up. Nolan's in the hospital because he couldn't live with what you made him part of. Not because I refused to be your victim. My mother was crying. Riley, please, we're still your family. Can't we work this out? We could have worked it out if you'd told me the truth. If you'd asked instead of stealing. If you treated me like a person instead of an asset. One of the Heritage Tour Committee members, a woman named Susan Rothman, stepped forward. Riley, I owe you an apology. We removed you from the tour based on false information. I'd like to formally invite you to rejoin, and I'd like to personally sponsor you for the Governor's Restoration Award. This house is a masterwork. My father made a sound like a wounded animal. You can't be serious. After everything she's what? Susan's voice was sharp. Rebuilt a historic property with her own hands? Refused to let you steal it? Stood up to you when you tried to destroy her career with lies? She looked around at the crowd. I've lived in this town for 30 years. I knew Ed Mulvaney. If he said this family was trying to hurt Riley, then it's true. And I, for one, am ashamed I didn't believe her sooner. 3 other people murmured agreement. The reporters were taking notes. My father's face had gone from white to red to gray. Richard Colson turned to his lawyer. Can we void this sale? Based on this evidence? Yes. Fraud vitiates everything. The power of attorney was invalid. The sale is invalid. Then void it. He looked at me. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have bought it if I'd known. Thank you, I said. My father grabbed my arm. You're making a mistake. You need us. You think you can do this alone? You'll fail. You'll come crawling back. I pulled my arm free. I spent 3 years rebuilding this house alone. I think I'll manage. Patricia Chen stepped between us. Mr. Harper, if you make any further attempts to contact my client or interfere with her property rights, we'll file for a restraining order, and we'll be pressing criminal charges for fraud, forgery, and mail tampering. I suggest you consult with your attorney. My father looked at my mother, at Nolan, at the crowd of neighbors and reporters and witnesses. No one was on his side. No one was defending him. He'd lost and he knew it. He walked off the porch without another word. My mother followed, still crying. Nolan stayed behind. He walked up to me, and for a moment I thought he was going to apologize again. Instead, he just said, "Good job, sis." Then he left too. Patricia handed me the keys to my house. "It's yours. Officially. The sale is voided. Colson's lawyer is filing the paperwork today." I stood there on the porch holding the keys, surrounded by strangers who'd become allies, looking at the house I'd almost lost. The sun was setting. The light through the transom made patterns on the porch floor. The 43 pieces of stained glass I'd repaired by hand, showing a sunrise I'd never thought I'd see from this side again. Susan Rothman touched my shoulder. "Riley, we'd still like you in the Heritage Tour, if you're interested." "I'm interested." "Good. We need more people like you, people who do the right thing even when it costs them everything." 3 months later, the house was officially mine again. The sale was voided. Richard Colson was pursuing legal action against my father for fraud. The district attorney was reviewing the case for criminal charges. My father didn't go to jail. The DA decided there wasn't enough evidence for criminal fraud charges. Everything was civil. But he lost his real estate license. He lost his reputation. He lost the respect of everyone in town who'd heard the recordings and seen the photographs. My mother left him, moved in with her sister in Vermont. She sent me a card once that said, "I'm sorry for my part in this." I never wrote back. Nolan got out of the hospital and moved to California. He calls me once a month. We don't talk about the house. We don't talk about Dad. We talk about his new job, his therapy, the weather. It's not forgiveness, it's not reconciliation, but it's contact, and that's something. The Heritage Tour happened in May. 300 people toured my house over 2 days. I stood in the parlor and answered questions about the restoration process. People took photos of the transom. A writer from a design magazine asked to do a feature. I won the Governor's Restoration Award in September. They gave me a plaque and a check for $5,000. I used it to start a scholarship fund for young people who want to learn historic restoration. I named it the Ed Mulvaney Memorial Fund. Now it's December. I'm sitting on the porch Ed helped me rebuild, drinking coffee from the thermos his daughter gave me after the funeral. It's cold enough that I can see my breath. The Christmas lights are up on the houses down the street. Inside, the house is warm and quiet. Mine. If you're watching this, and you've ever been told that standing up for yourself is selfish, or that you owe your family your silence, or that protecting what you built makes you the villain, let me tell you what I learned. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You can't negotiate with people who see you as an asset to liquidate instead of a person to love. And you can't heal in the same place that broke you. Ed Mulvaney spent the last months of his life documenting my father's plans because he knew I'd need proof. He knew that families don't always mean safety. He knew that sometimes the people who see you most clearly are the ones who choose to be there, not the ones who are obligated by blood. I miss him. I visit his grave every Sunday. I bring flowers. I tell him about the house, the awards, the clients. I tell him he was right. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones who stood quietly on the sidelines, watching, waiting, documenting the truth so that when we're finally ready to fight, we don't have to do it alone. That's what family really means. Not blood, not obligation, but someone who sees you clearly and chooses to protect you anyway. I'm still Riley Harper. I'm still 34. And I'm still here, standing on the porch I rebuilt with my own hands, in the house no one could take from me, not even my father. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping yourself whole, type "I chose myself" in the comments. Or if you're still in the middle of that choice, type "I'm getting there." Both are brave, both are valid. Your story matters. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. Stay warm out there.